all my JUKI friends. Welcome to the JUKI studio. Today we're doing a Halloween project and we are going to be making this basket, but I'm actually going to show you how to spice it up and make it even more Halloween-like. So I love fabric baskets. They're just easy to make, easy to contain things, and I really do think I'm going to fill mine with candy for Halloween for when all my little trick-or-treaters come. So I'm going to start out by going over what it is that we will be needing. We will need one piece of felt, black 7x4. We will need two pieces for the lining, which pokes through at the top, and these are 10x12. Two pieces of the outer fabric, also 10x12, and the interfacing I am using is a fusible fleece. So this has a felt-like look. It has bumpy pieces of glue on it, and this will be 9.5 by 11.5. So a half an inch smaller than my fabrics. So with the fusible fleece, there are a lot of different brands available, and what you will be doing is fusing that to the fabric on the back side of the fabric with those little bumps going towards the back of the fabric, and you want to secure that and iron that according to the manufacturer's instructions. Now, I like to put the fusible fleece on the front part of my basket because it holds its shape and just gives it structure while we're making the bag. I have my fused front pieces and my lining pieces all piled up one on top of another. And again, the 10 is going across, the 12 is the height on the fabric, and I have marked 3-inch boxes at the bottom of that fabric. I'm going to hold that up so that you could see my pen markings with what I have drawn out. And I am going to cut out those 3-inch boxed corners. And I will be doing that on both sides. Now, you could do this one piece of fabric at a time. You could layer them the way I have, whatever is easiest for you. Now, I am going to go to that piece of 7x4 felt. And I am drawing my little jack-o'-lantern face. Because I made my basket and it was Halloween colors, but I kept saying, I'm like, this could be better, and I'm giving you the better version. So I am just freehand drawing. You could go to coloring book pages or look up templates for jack-o'-lantern, but this is what I've come up with for my little face. Now, this is going to be placed about 1 inch above the box and with about 2 inches from the top of this, I am going to cut out this face and I am going to glue it on one of my front pieces, and I will stitch this down. Now, you could stitch this down with a zigzag, with an applique or a buttonhole stitch. I am going to just use a straight stitch. And I am just cutting out along those drawn lines that I did. And I love this because it's very child friendly. So you could have them draw their face that they want for their little jack-o'-lantern basket. And now I'm cutting out the eyes. And again, I need to leave about 1 inch from the bottom and about 2 inches from the top, just so that when this is sewn together, it will be visible. I could fuss with that placement, and once I get it exactly where I want, I'm going to get out my little glue stick, and again, I am going to just glue and tack that in place. Now, when you're using a glue stick for placement, you can bring this to the iron and heat set this in place to make sure that it does not move, and this will adhere it much better. I think that's just too cute. Now, you could do this on both sides. I am doing mine on one, and then we're going to go to a straight stitch. I am going to shorten the length to 1.8 just to give me a nice tight stitch, and I am going to go all around and just stitch that in place. You may want to slow down that speed just so that you're comfortable with that stitching. Now, I am doing a straight stitch, and I'm comfortable with a straight stitch. I don't want the stitching to really show, and I know that my felt will not fray, so I am not trying to contain frayed edges. You could also use a fusible web product to glue this down onto your basket. And you would want to match or contrast. You want to be mindful of the colors that you are using on your project. I wanted something to blend in and not even look like this was stitched down. And now I'm going to stitch down the eyes. And I'm almost done. And I love that glue stick because you can really reposition. I just thought that needed to be moved a little bit. And just like that, I have a little face on mine. I think that'll make a great addition to that basket. Now we could start the assembly process. I am going to choose stitch number 3 on my DX-2000. This will give me a 1/4 inch seam allowance with using the standard foot. And this is a way I prefer to do 1/4 inch piecing because it gives me a wider foot and the ability to use all of my feed dogs. So I am going to sew the 2 side seams. And once my 2 side seams are done, I am going to do the bottom. And I will do the same with my lining fabric too. Now make sure your right sides together. Now on the lining with the bottom, I am going to leave a little bit of an opening. Perfect. And now I'm going to box all of my corners. And for those of you who've never boxed a corner, what you're going to do is open up those 2 layers of fabric so that the side seams, the seams are together. And I like to nest my seam, and all that means is one seam goes to the right, one goes to the left. It makes it lay nice and flat. And I am going to sew that using my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'll be doing this on all 4 corners. I'm just opening up that fabric, bringing the seams to the center, the folds to the outside, and I am sewing that. And my lining is all done. And you'll see it's already starting to take shape. Now I'll do the same for the front of my basket. Again, I'm opening up those corners, putting the seams in the center. So I have seams in the center, a fold, and I will sew those down. And I am back tacking, especially with that fusible fleece at the beginning and at the end. And all that means is I'm just going in reverse a little bit to secure my stitching. So here's that next corner, cut out like a box, open it up, seams in the center. Much easier to show that with the stiffened fabric. Little bit of back tacking. And I'm going to turn that outside fabric inside out so you could see how it takes shape. That fusible fleece just gives a really nice shape. Doesn't that just look adorable? My little pumpkin face. Now, with my lining, I am going to put the lining so that it's right sides to right sides, and I'm going to put one basket inside of another. I'm going to kind of put it in there, and then what I want to do is line up my side seams. And as you get the corners together where they line up as well, what you will have are your side seams all together. Now you may want to pin or clip all around here, and you just want to make sure that you're catching all of your layers. Now we will be sewing all around that top. Now, I like to put the basket where my fabric, I'm inside the circle. It's a little bit harder for you to see, but it's much easier to sew. And I'm just sewing around all of those layers with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And turning and keeping everything nice and in place as I'm going along. And as I'm getting to the side seams, I'm making sure that they match up and that my seams are facing different directions, like I did on the side. And you'll notice as I'm sewing, I am stopping as I need to so that I can position my fabric and my basket beautifully. And I am back tacking where I overlapped. Now, the only thing that's left is what I call the unbirthing. So we are going to turn this all inside out, and this is actually the hardest part of this project, but it does come together relatively quickly. You're going to see that I am just going to keep tugging and pulling and tugging and pulling, and just like that, I have my fabric, and I even noticed that I missed a spot. So I am going to catch that as I top stitch. And now the only thing that's left to do is top stitch all around that top. Now I am doing this with a darker color. I would probably match my colors. I would probably go to the iron and press this and pin it. But let me show you how easily this comes together. Now I am going to remove my accessory tray to work with the free arm, making this much, much easier to stitch. And I am going to be doing a top stitching. Now you could easily do a decorative stitch here. I sometimes like to use that triple stitch, whatever you like. You have so many decorative stitches to choose from. And if you did miss any of your stitching sewing around the top, this is a good opportunity to catch that, as I'm doing with mine. Having that free arm makes this so much easier. Now, let me show you how cute my little basket is. I am clipping some threads as I see them. And I just like to turn this over. And I did orange and green so that that top little flip looks like the leaves from a pumpkin. Look at how cute that little basket is. And with that bottom opening that you left open, you would either slip stitch that or sew it with the machine to finish that off. I hope you enjoy your fabric basket. Until next time, bye-bye.